An ugly, poor, and overweight loner wakes up one day and finds himself in the body of another man. He sees that he's become tall, handsome, and has the perfect body. The story begins with a boy named Hyun-suk getting bullied at school. He acts like a dog, but still gets beaten up. Back at home, he tells his mother he wants to transfer to another school and ends up taking out his frustration on her. The next day at gym class, Hyun-suk continues to get bullied, and he starts getting slapped around by one of the guys. His mother suddenly appears and stands up to the boy, but this only embarrasses him. Back at home, his mother tells him she was at the school to discuss transfer options. She tells him he can transfer to a school in Seoul, but he will need to live on his own because she can't leave her job. Hyun-suk moves to the slums in Seoul. His place is small, but he is glad to have a fresh start. In the city, Hyun-suk bumps into a girl and is surprised when she actually apologizes to him. He decides to try and be a different person, but ends up creeping the girl out. The girl's boyfriend shows up and doesn't like the way Hyun-suk was looking at his girl. The man ends up beating him up, and everyone records him getting beaten. It gets posted online, and Hyun-suk cries as he reads the mean comments about him. He cries himself to sleep, but when he wakes up, he is surprised to see his new body. He sees himself on the ground, and tries to wake himself up. He wakes back up in his body and figures it was all a dream, but then he sees the other body lying next to him. He ends up figuring out that every time he sleeps, he switches between the bodies. Hyun-suk starts at his new school in the fashion design class, and all the girls are amazed by his good looks. When he takes his seat, he finds he is next to the guy that beat him up, and his girlfriend is also in his class. Luckily, the guy doesn't recognize him and introduces himself as Jin. Hyun-suk gets approached by a girl named Hannah, and she flirts with him. Jin calls her out, but sees that his girlfriend is also interested in him. He gets fired up, but the teacher continues on with the class. Later at lunch, everyone stares at him, and Hannah introduces the different groups of students. She asks him why he chose to join the fashion design class, and we find out that with his poor academics, fashion design was the only thing he could transfer to. Back in class, he gets sleepy because he spent all the previous day testing out his new body. He ends up falling asleep and waking up in his body back at home. He realizes what happened and tries to fall back asleep. He manages to switch back when Hannah wakes him up at the end of class. Hyun-suk gets a job at the convenience store to work nights, but we see he came in his other body to ask about the job. The owner is keen to hire him, but he ends up saying it's for his friend. The owner tries to change his mind when he sees his other form, but Hyun-suk impresses him with his knowledge of all the cigarette brands from his experience as an errand boy. Hyun-suk starts working, and some guys come in to buy cigarettes, but he recognizes them from his class, so he asks them for ID, and ends up turning them down. Jin joins them, and realizes his name is also Hyun-suk. He takes out his anger on him, and beats him up again. They end up taking a nude photo of him, so he doesn't go to the cops. The next day at school, Jin and his boys laugh about beating him up the previous night. Hyun-suk tells them off, and Jin prepares to fight him, but gets stopped by another student named Jae. Jin gets free and continues to attack. Hyun-suk has been beaten so much in the past, he can read the punches, and now that he has a body that can react, he easily dodges. Everyone is shocked Jin's punch missed. Jin continues to swing, but Hyun-suk beats him with a single punch to the stomach. The news of this fight is spread to the other classes, in particular the vocal class and the architecture class, who decide they need to teach Hyun-suk a lesson. At night, Hyun-suk notices a suspicious guy who ends up stealing and making a run for it. Hyun-suk chases after him, but finds he was doing it for the bullies. The bullies force them to fight each other, but they are saved when Bosco appears. He has a strong sense of justice and stands up to the bullies. The next day, Hyun-suk asks Hannah about Bosco. We learn he is the leader of the Burn Knuckle gang in the architecture class. They are joined by the Three Stooges, and Bosco sees them all hanging out together. Bosco approaches him, and he thanks him for helping him, but realizes that was in his other body. Bosco interprets his words as meaning he is friends with the three bullies. Bosco uses his shoulder knuckle grab to teach him a lesson, but Hyun-suk manages to free himself. Everyone is shocked, and Hyun-suk says it was a misunderstanding. Bosco's friend breaks things up, and he reveals that Bosco would have lost if things continued. The Three Stooges are amazed at his strength and ask to be his friend. They go out for food together, and Hyun-suk is surprised to see Jin is also there. They end up smoothing things over with some drinks, and one of the guys talks about the video he shot the previous night. Hyunsuk takes a big drink, and before the guy can show it off, he crushes the phone. He ends up passing out from the alcohol, and wakes up in his other body. He tries to go back to sleep, but just has a strange dream about his old bully. He realizes he can't switch bodies, so he rushes to find himself. He manages to make it back, and he explains that he was told to pick up his friend, so he ends up carrying his other body home. The next day, Hyunsuk runs into Joe, the guy who was also getting bullied. Joe is confused why Hyunsuk is being nice to him, but they end up having lunch together. Back at his house, his mother comes to visit, and she sees him sleeping. Hyunsuk returns, and explains he is her son's roommate, and that Hyunsuk works at night. He ends up taking her out for coffee, and Bosco happens to be there, and he listens in. His mom feels comfortable with him and opens up to him. She thanks him for being his son's friend, but Bosco thinks he is just using him, and gets enraged. As they leave, his mom prepares some cardboard to sell for scrap, and reveals she had to take a side job so she could send him money. She ends up giving him money for the coffee, and Bosco is enraged, seeing him take her money. After she leaves, Bosco confronts him. He thinks Hyunsuk is a liar, and is using his other self as an errand boy. Hyunsuk is confused, but Bosco attacks him. He manages to dodge all of his attacks, and Bosco demands the money that his mother gave him. Seeing him as another bully trying to take his money, Hyunsuk fights back. He spins, and elbows Bosco in the face, knocking him out. Later at work, Bosco comes in, and apologizes for being unable to get the money for him. He tells him he should train, and Hyunsuk tries doing some push-ups, but a beautiful girl suddenly comes in, and he is embarrassed. She turns out to be nice, and even buys him a drink for his workout. We meet a guy named Leon, as he prepares to show off his new shoes and exclusive ring, but he gets overshadowed by Jay, who wears designer brands all over. Even Hannah is interested, but he doesn't really talk. The girls crowd around Hyunsuk as usual, but Leon can tell from his shoes and bag that he is poor and has no fashion sense. They make a plan to expose him, but Jay overhears. Later, Hyunsuk runs into a guy named Duke. As he gets bullied by guys from the vocal class, Hyunsuk stands up for him, but the teacher stops them from fighting. He offers Duke a hand, but he doesn't take it and walks away. At the end of the day, Hyunsuk gets a call from his mother, and Jay overhears that it's his birthday tomorrow. Jay ends up giving him a present for his birthday, and Hyunsuk finds the bag filled with clothes. As Jay leaves, there is a whole mountain of bags. The next day, Leon prepares to embarrass Hyunsuk, but is shocked when he comes in wearing all high-end fashion. Hannah asks where he got the clothes from, and Hyunsuk says it was his friend. Elsewhere, at a music studio, an audition is being held. Both Duke and his bully, Vinny, are auditioning. Vinny gets called up first, and he manages to impress the producer. The producer sees that Duke is the only one left, and Duke gets sent away without getting the chance to perform. Despite this, he continues to write lyrics and hopes to make it one day so he can take care of his grandma. The next day, he looks at a poster, and Hyunsuk comes up to him. Hyunsuk tries to be friendly, but Duke thinks it's weird. At lunch, Duke gets bullied by Vinny because he applied to sing at the festival. Vinny tells him he would be an embarrassment to their class and slaps him around. Hyunsuk steps up, and he is joined by Jay. Jin also steps up, and Bosco appears as well. Vinny and his boys leave, and all the girls think Hyunsuk is so cool. He checks on Duke, but he just walks away. Hyunsuk finds the torn application and puts it back together. He tries to give it back to Duke the next day, but Duke is sick of his nice guy act. He says that everything he goes through will just make his music better, just like his hero Eminem, who made it from nothing. In class, Vinny talks about his performance for the festival and is confident he will win. He sees Duke writing his lyrics and gets annoyed, thinking he should just give up. After school, he beats Duke up again and rips up his notepad. Meanwhile, Hyunsuk learns more about the festival from Hannah, and she suggests that he could perform. Hyunsuk is on cleaning duty, and he thinks about what it would be like to perform. He ends up singing, and Duke hears him from outside. Duke appears behind him, and he is surprised. Duke asks him to be his partner to perform at the festival. The next day, Hyunsuk is amazed Duke has already written lyrics. They practice, and Joe is amazed at the two of them, but Duke tells Hyunsuk he needs to improve his technique. However, he warns him not to overpractice, because vocal cords are delicate. After school, Hyunsuk's throat is already a bit sore, but he finds that he can practice in his other body. The pretty girl shows up again and compliments his voice. She gives him some lozenges for his throat and wishes him luck. In the next practice session, Duke reminds him not to practice too much, but he says he didn't, at least not in this body. Duke is amazed at his improvement and thinks he must be a genius. After school, Duke and Joe get bullied by Vinny and his boys. They force Joe to hit Duke, but luckily Vinny gets called away. Joe apologizes to Duke, and they both end up at the convenience store. They head out the back, and Joe apologizes for stealing the other day. They end up bonding over all the different ways they have been bullied, and are thankful that they met Hyun-suk. Bosco suddenly appears and asks them about Hyun-suk. They all vouch for him, and Bosco realizes he mistook him for a bad guy this whole time. Meanwhile, Vinny practices for the festival with his professionally written song, and he plans to debut as a singer after he wins. The day of the festival arrives, and even the girl from the store comes to check it out. There are all kinds of things going on, like boxing, arm wrestling, a photo booth, and a fashion store. Hyun-suk gets nervous for his performance, but suddenly sees the girl from the store. He chases the girl as she is leaving, but she has no idea who he is. She thinks he is trying to hit on her by pretending he knows her. She is not impressed by the school, where everyone seems to judge people just by their appearance. Hyun-suk is shocked she is so different from how she is at the store. She leaves, and Hyun-suk goes after her but is stopped by her bodyguard. He's incredibly strong, but Hyun-suk manages to get free. The man delivers a devastating kick, and Hyun-suk is brought to his knees. Bosco shows up, backing up Hyun-suk, and the man punches him straight in the face, but Bosco doesn't budge. Hyun-suk gets back up, and they prepare to fight, but the girl manages to stop her man, and they take their leave. It's time for the main event at the festival, and Vinny taunts them as he goes up for his performance. They put on a great show, and Hyun-suk gets even more nervous, but Duke tells him to think about someone he loves. When Vinny comes off stage, Duke actually congratulates him, but this makes him mad, and he punches him in the gut. Hyun-suk gets ready for a fight, but Duke stops him and tells him they will settle it with their performance. They get up on stage, and Hyun-suk is so nervous he can't sing properly. Duke takes over with his rap, and everyone is surprised how good he is. Hyun-suk remembers Duke's advice, and thinks about his mother. He manages to sing, and everyone is blown away. Even the music producer is impressed. Everyone cheers for them, and they win the festival. The producer comes up to them, and wants to make them a star, but only gives his card to Hyun-suk. Hyun-suk asks what about Duke? The producer says he is good, but doesn't have what it takes to go pro. To everyone's surprise, Hyun-suk turns down the producer's offer. After that, their performance is shared online, and it even ends up being sent to the girl from the store. She sees Hyun-suk, but realizes he is singing the same song she heard at the store. She wonders how it's possible, and it's revealed she also has a second body. But that's where this video ends. Let me know in the comments if you enjoyed this video. Remember to subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time.